It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
You thought I forgot about you? Did you miss me? Okay. What's happening, everybody? It is showtime. My name is Geno Jones. It is time for the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Monday through Friday, right around 6:30 p.m. Like I said, around 6:30 p.m. All right, say 6:30 p.m. Give or take a couple seconds, maybe a minute or two. All right, like, share, and subscribe to the Geno Jones channel here on YouTube, my very own YouTube channel, part of the Geno Jones Network. Like, share, subscribe, and tag all of my back episodes. Go back and binge watch all of my back episodes. You will be glad you did, all right? And if you would like to be a sponsor on the Geno Jones Show, speaking in third person, if you'd like to be a sponsor on my show, I'd be honored to have you. I'd love to have you. If you'd like to advertise, I'd love to have you as an advertiser. And if you are looking for the ultimate pitch man, I am the king, not the king, the king pitchman. Leave me a message, Geno Jones Show, Gmail. I'll give you that information at the end of the show. So listen, today I want to tell you about really yesterday. Had a great show. You probably heard the buzz. Folks, everybody's talking about it today. Even if you're not an NBA basketball fan, even if you hated the Bulls in the 90s when they were winning 6 championships out of 8 years, or if you loved them. So Scottie Pippen, apparently, he has just released a new book, and he has a new drink. It's like a bourbon. It's called Digits, and it's like a picture. It took like a picture of his hand, and it's on the bottle of bourbon. So he just released this. So he's on this major promotional tour. So he was doing a radio show interview on yesterday, and boy, Scottie, did he spill all the tea. Wow, talking about Mary J. Blige, he gave up all the 411 on Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. So go back, I had my guest, former ESPN Sports Center anchor, also play-by-play announcer from ESPN, BET, Fox Sports 1, iconic sports anchor in the Connecticut area, one of the local stations there, Eric Clemens. He's been a frequent guest. He's part of the Geno Jones family, one of my regular contributors. As a matter of fact, he actually covered the Chicago Bulls. Both of us, born and raised in Chicago. And he was at home in Chicago covering sports. Well, actually, he was not necessarily, no, he was actually at ESPN, but he actually covered the Bulls. He covered that team and went to Chicago. And he shared some stories. He shared a very interesting story about how Michael Jordan protected his image, public image. So go back and watch that yesterday. And so we talked about, what do you think? Basically, Scottie Pippen said Phil Jackson was racist. Now, it was based on something that happened in 1994. It was a 1994 playoff game. That was the full year that Michael Jordan was pursuing basketball. Michael left the Bulls, quit pro basketball right after his dad was murdered to play pro baseball, which was a dream of his dad's. When Mike was a kid, his dad dreamed of Michael Jordan actually becoming a baseball player. Well, you know how that turned out. So Mike decided he wanted to pursue that. Many of you all heard the story. You probably saw The Last Dance last spring actually, into the summer. So, but Scottie Pippen said that Phil Jackson was a racist. Because in 1994, in a playoff game against the New York Knicks in Chicago, so there was a couple seconds left on the clock. Scottie Pippen was the best player on the team. There was a young kid from Croatia, a young white kid, Tony Kukoc. There was a lot of resentment between Scottie. Well, Scottie, it's not so much they resented Tony, coach. They really resented and hated like Jerry Krause, who was the general manager. And I guess you could say in extension, by proxy, they weren't really happy with Bulls ownership. Jerry Reinsdorf at the time, he was the owner, still owned. Jerry Reinsdorf is not managing the team now. His son has taken over, so it's still in the Reinsdorf family. But Jerry Reinsdorf was, he was very active. So Mike wasn't really, they weren't happy with Jerry Reinsdorf, but really Jerry Krause, he was like public enemy number one. Jerry Krause really got all the vitriol and anger, some would call hate, toward just Bulls management. So Scottie Pippen said Phil Jackson was racist because he called to play for this white kid as opposed to me, the best player on the team. Now, I know, you're saying, well, wait a minute, Scottie. Hold on, dude. I mean, really? The dude wants to win, Phil's trying to win a game. So, would it be racist to call a play for somebody else that he thought that could execute the play better than you, even though you were the star player? He implied that, Phil Jackson would have never done that to Michael Jordan. So anyway, you can do your own homework. So we discussed that in detail. We discussed Phil Jackson. We discussed Scottie Pippen. Also, Scottie said that Michael Jordan quit. Well, no, I'm sorry. Scottie said Michael Jordan was selfish. That Michael Jordan leaving the Bulls in 1993 after his dad was murdered was selfish. Now, some people, they clap back at Scottie and they push back and say, yo, Scottie, it was selfish that you didn't go back in the game with like less than 2 seconds in the game and in that playoff game in 1994. So, but wait a minute, Scottie wasn't finished. He also cited as an example that Phil Jackson was racist. So Phil wrote a book, in the early 2000s, and in that book, he just really eviscerated. I mean, he basically, what he said about Kobe Bryant, you can Google it, but what he said about Kobe Bryant was just, he called Kobe like everything but a child of God. Just said Kobe was just not a good dude and he was toxic. I'm paraphrasing, but Scottie Pippen said himself that the things that he revealed about Kobe, he should not have done because it could have really done some harm to Kobe's image. Now, I guess you should put this in context to keep in mind in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, Kobe was going through this controversy. He was accused of sexual assault, of rape of an employee at a hotel or some type of lodge in Colorado. Well, we know what happened with that case. It never went to trial. So Kobe was never charged of anything. So I don't want to relitigate that. But Scottie Pippen said that for Phil Jackson to say the things that he said about Kobe in his book, and then afterwards to come back and to come back to coaching, and then to coach the Lakers, and to coach Kobe Bryant after you trashed him, you trashed this man, you trashed his reputation. You said he was everything bad but a child of God. My grandmother had a term. They call you everything but a child of God. That means you were called like some really bad. You was cussed out and called the lowest of the low. So those are the two main points of reference, or I guess you could say examples, according to Scottie Pippen, of why he said Phil Jackson is racist. Haven't heard from Phil, haven't heard from Michael, haven't heard from some of their other teammates, haven't heard from Horace Grant. Well, I'd love to hear from Horace Grant, and I would love to hear from Craig Hodges, who was a teammate of Michael and Scottie when they won their first championship. Google Craig Hodges. Just do a Google search. Listen to some interviews of Craig Hodges talking about how he was blackballed. That's a whole nother show. So Eric Clemens and I talked about that in detail. Now today, wow, I saw this and I just got to share this with you to put this conversation in context. So last week, let's say Wednesday. You can go back and binge watch the episode. So I believe last Wednesday, one day last week, midweek, I'm almost certain it was either Wednesday, no, maybe Thursday. My guest was retired Marine, retired Master Sergeant in the Marines, Roy Gray. So Master Sergeant Gray, obviously, was in the military for over 3 decades. Like I said, when he retired, he was a Master Sergeant. And we talked about racism and white nationalists and white supremacists in the ranks of the military, because the FBI, other some of our intelligence agencies, over the last decade, they have been warning and telling us, even as late as last year, the FBI director went in front of Congress and said the biggest domestic terrorist threat here in America, it's not from ISIS, not from Al Qaeda, not from anybody like that. It is from far right-wing, racist, white nationalist militia groups that are infiltrating, that have made a concentrated effort. Several reports from our different intelligence agencies and the FBI over the last 10 years said there's been an intentional effort and a plan for racists, white nationalists, white supremacists, KKK, neo-Nazis, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, these far right-wing racist white militia groups to infiltrate local, state, federal government. I should say local, state, federal law enforcement, local, state, and federal law enforcement, and the military. So today I see that an active duty Marine was plotting a far right-wing death squad to murder black people, Jewish and Mexican people, basically to start a race war. Because he was kicked out of the Marines in April of 2020. His name is Marine Private First Class, former Marine Private First Class, Travis Owens, and 2 other men were under FBI investigation. They came under FBI investigation for trying to plot this race war. And they were talking about using rocket launchers and automatic weapons and bombs to kill black people and Jewish people. Say they want to kill blacks and Jews and Mexicans, but they use derogatory, pejorative racial slurs referring to blacks and Jews and Mexicans. Wow. So one of the men was charged. However, this Travis Owens dude, former private duty first class, has not been charged with any crime yet. However, once again, he was kicked out of the Marines back in April of 2020. Just listen, I just want to give you guys a heads up, all right? This threat from within, this threat from fellow Americans with this hateful, racist, white nationalist, white supremacist ideology that say that there's only one race, and that's white people, that black people and Jewish people and Mexicans are not even human. This was some of the language that this guy Travis Owens and these 2 other people who were plotting this right-wing death squad race war were using with each other. And the FBI got wind of these conversations. And they came under an FBI investigation, and one of the men was charged. The former Marine has not been charged, like I said, as of yet. So it's real out here in these streets, everybody. It's real. This hate, this spread of white nationalism and white supremacy is real. Your boy, IQ 45, your boy Orange Hitler, he didn't invent it. He didn't create it. He emboldened it. He emboldened it. He energized it. It was like he speedballed it. It was like if it was an IV, it would have had heroin, crack, crystal meth, and fentanyl all in this IV. It just got super juiced up. And racists felt very comfortable being very open about this hatred. And still doing in many cases. So something that we all, not just black people, but we all as Americans, because today they might want to come for me, somebody who looks like me, or somebody that looks like a Hispanic brother and sister, or they might want to come for a Jewish brother and sister. But then, to my white brothers and sisters, they'll come for you. You know how I know? Because they came for you already. They came for all of us. January 6th, the insurrection, talking about the revolution, was almost televised. That racial revolution, that racist, white supremacist revolution and civil war and race war, they've been openly talking about. I mean, it hadn't been whispered. They've openly spouted about it, talked about it on social media. You can find the videos right now. And you saw it. And those were white men, angry white men, filled with white rage. Those are not my words. Those are the words of our current Joint Chiefs of Staff, the number one person in the military, in charge of all branches of the military, General Mark Milley, who said this in front of Congress last week. He said, I want to understand white rage, and I'm a white man. That's what he said. So he understands that this is real. Oh, it's real out here in these streets, as the kids say. This spread of white nationalism and white supremacy and wanting a race war. It's real. So just be aware. We got to be aware. And I pray and trust that the federal government, to the Biden administration, that the FBI is really got. I know there's only so much they can do until they have evidence, but I'm gonna need y'all to keep your eyes on these groups, because I'm always keeping my eyes on everybody and anybody. Okay, so that's what we got for today. So go back and binge watch. Go back and binge watch yesterday's show with my guest Eric Clements, former ESPN Sports Center anchor, former ESPN play-by-play announcer, not just ESPN, Fox Sports 1, play-by-play, great play-by-play football guy, just a really talented. He was a star at ESPN, and then he moved on, and just a really good dude. We had a fun conversation. If you want to check it out, make sure to check it out, and go back and binge watch last Friday's episode. My guest was Keela Carson. We always have fun. It's like our Friday comedy show. we get the co-headline. You know, she's like a headline. I got a great feature act as a headliner. She comes in like having two headliners on the show. So we have a great time. We have great chemistry. We've worked with each other in radio in the past, and Eric and I we've known each other. So go back and binge watch all the episodes. All right. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. I want to thank all my new subscribers. I got a goal. I want to get 100,000 new subscribers by the end of the year. Help a brother out. Also, all of my white allies that say, how can we be anti-racist, and how can we support the cause of black lives? How can we show that we feel that black lives really matter? One way you can do that is by supporting black businesses and black entrepreneurs, black business owners like myself, small business owners, my company, Geno Media. So please, I'd love to have you as a sponsor. I'd love to have you advertise on the channel. I'd love to be your pitch man. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you look like. You can have two eyes. You can have two heads and 2 years, it doesn't matter to me. If you are looking for the ultimate pitch man to help you promote and build your brand and your business, your products, your goods and services, to help them move, to get customers, to click on your website or to come through your doors, I'm just going to say this very humbly and simply. I am not the king. Nah, that wouldn't be me. I'm not the king. I'm the king! Do you understand what I am saying? I am the king of pitchmen. Holla at your boy. Just send me an email, GenoJonesShow@gmail. That's how you spell Geno Jones Show right there. Geno is with a G and E. GenoJonesShow@gmail, or leave me a message right here on my YouTube channel. Like I said, go back and binge watch. Like, share, and subscribe. And feel free to tag this episode and all my episodes. Tag them on your friends, your family, everybody you know. Tag them on their Facebook page. Copy the link and tag the link. Share the link on Instagram, on Twitter. Screen grab like 60 seconds of the show and put it up on TikTok. Put it up on Triller. All those. All of those platforms, okay? Just put it out there. See what we got, TikTok, and I know I'm forgetting one too, but just hook a brother up. Any platform, I'm all good with it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I love each and every one of you. Thank you, and thank you to all my new subscribers. And Mother, I love you more than life itself. And finally, let me shout out Mr. Mark Hale Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. You can check him out on Instagram, on IG. Kelby Cutting Up. Kelby Cutting Up. That's KELBECUTTINUP. Kelby Cutting Up. And then my man, Bruce Gage, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. You can do an Instagram search for my man, Mr. Bruce Gage. Just type in Bruce, Gage. Bruce Gage. Thank you for watching, everybody. Tomorrow, so go back and watch. Now you can go back and watch yesterday's show. And check out me and my guest Eric Clemens, where we talk about this whole Scottie Pippen said that Phil Jackson is racist and Michael Jordan is selfish. We talk about that in detail. Eric Clemens also shares a very interesting story about in the early 90s about how Michael Jordan was very careful to speak out about social issues. Actually, well, just check it out. Somebody asked him about a Malcolm X cap that he happened to be wearing. Wait until you hear what he had to say, and wait until you hear what he didn't have to say. Eric will share that story with you. Go back and watch that, and then go back and watch Friday, and then go back and watch the show. A week ago today, oh my goodness, you got to watch that episode. It's titled, Do Something. President Biden, Senator's Mansion and Cinema, do something. And I got mad respect for President Biden, who I think's done an outstanding job so far. Still a lot of work to do. And even though you took a shot, you threw a little shade at Chicago, President Biden, today. I was watching you up in, in Wisconsin. I don't know, was it La Crosse? He was in some little town about 4 hours north of Chicago up in Wisconsin. Threw a little shade there. Got a little dark in the room. Threw a little shade at the Chi. Yeah, I know. It was a joke. I'm just saying, because we support you in Chicago. We supported you. It's all good. All right, everybody. Let me get out of here. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I love you so much. Everybody, tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, live, another edition of the Geno Jones Show. And until then, once again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, be blessed.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.